Hey everyone, and welcome to Real Reviews episode 11. Crazy, we've already
We're
done a
back.
lot of these. With the one and only Lewis Thompson, the co-creator of Airwiggles, and obviously my wonderful co-worker and great friend. Yeah, today we're gonna watch 3 different reels from Finn Mitchell, Marina Kruyanis, and John Stolzle. And yeah, pretty exciting stuff. And
Awesome. I'm very excited.
yeah,
It's good to be back, Greg. It's been a long time since
I
I've done a
have
real
to
review with you.
apologize for the crazy hiatus. It's been a busy month or couple of months. We had, what did we have, Lewis? We had
What
AirCon.
was that? Yeah, aircon and the 2 months of planning that. And
Exactly.
now it's all about we're all in on the sound design showdown, the coolest sound design contest ever. Which if you haven't signed up to yet, I'd probably do it tonight because otherwise you're going to miss out. We're very, very close to our maximum team limit.
All of that is
So get in
over
quick.
on airwiggles.com, which you can check out. And including AirCon as well. I just wanted to also say that with AirCon, we've got a superb setup now where we have the AirCon portal where you can find everything. And yeah, basically just check it out. Lewis, do you want to shoot a link in the chat? I'm trying to get the chat into the on the stream right now, so sorry for this. It's slight technical issues, but for some reason the chat isn't showing up, so this is odd.
I see the chat. Let me send a link now.
I'm trying to get it onto the screen. Come on, OBS, why you like this? But yeah,
Bit rusty.
there we go. Boom. The chat is on the screen. We did it. Kind of. Well, for better or worse. It will do. It will do. Okay, well, anyway, let's watch some reels, shall we? And I'm gonna get the stream on here as well. There we go. The chat is on screen. Hey, Adrian. Hey, Mark. Great to have you here. Cool. Sorry for that. I thought it was gonna work flawlessly, but of course not. That was too much. Anyway, let's check out Finn Mitchell. Very nice. First off, hey Haley, great to see you. All right, let's get into it. I love that last clip. That was awesome.
Yeah, great work, Finn.
Really nice
Sounds
work
good all
overall.
around.
Really good reel. However, I think
Take bets on what we're gonna say.
yeah, exactly. So numero uno, it's super long. It's very, very, very long. I, especially at moments, was like kind of like, okay, let's move on. I want to skip forward, and that's never a good sign. But I love the music. However, second point, unfortunately, is if you're trying to go for a sound design job, as in like application at a company, then you will want to not have any music in your reel. It will just be a distraction and you'll get points down for it. They might even throw it out immediately because of that. But if you're looking, if you're looking to get people from indie studios and stuff like that on board, then that stuff works great. So it's kind of like figuring out who is this reel for, and yeah, who are you sending this to? Are you sending this to developers? Are you sending this to companies, AAA indie, kind of, are you going for more technical implementation, or for more a sound design position, a composer position, a music designer position? That is not really clear when I look at this reel. It's kind of a little bit of everything, which is awesome because of course, you're very well versed in all kinds of different things, and clearly to a pretty high degree as well. But on the other hand, there's like nothing that stands out really out of all of this. So I would say figure out what you wanna position yourself, who this reel is for, and then restructure it to push for whatever position you're going for, whether that be sound design, technical implementation, or music composition, because there's a lot of really, really cool stuff in here. Lewis, go for it.
Yeah, I think it seems like the reel is kind of geared towards job positions which are kind of like the sole audio generalist at an indie studio, which covers music composition, sound design, and audio implementation. And if those are the types of positions you're after, then I think it's actually pretty appropriate. I'd even say you can leave the music in, but I do agree it's too long. I know that music reels tend to be a little bit longer because it's harder to tell like how good your music is from like tiny clips, but again, there's a few of those clips I think you can get rid of completely, and the ones at the start which did show off your music, I think you can kind of half the length of them. Yeah, as Greg said, if you're applying for just like a sound designer position, I'd probably rejig the show reels so you're showing off sound design focused clips first. But if you're applying for like indie studios that are hiring audio person to do everything, then I think the content of a reel is good. I have got some really specific notes for like different. Oh,
we're going.
That's not the real. I've got some really specific notes for a few different bits, but I think before we dive into those, I say like in general, like it's too long. How long is it, Greg? Like 2 minutes longer?
2 minutes, 3 minutes near. Yeah.
Yeah, nearly 3 minutes. I think this clip here that we're seeing right now, like the kind of like gravity gun jumping around type thing, like you don't need to have like it where it kind of like cuts and moves a different part of the same game. Like it looks and sounds basically the same. You can probably literally have that in for 5-10 seconds max. And likewise with this game as well. I noticed it did the same kind of thing. It shows like 2 different levels. And I know that you've done it because there's 2 different bits of music. But I don't think you need to. Just take your favorite one and the best one, probably the first one with this bit here, and just kind of cut it shorter because it's taking too much time. Apart from that, like have a think which ones you want to like sacrifice and get rid of. I think you can probably look to get rid of like 1 in every 2 clips you've got. Again, not because they're bad, just because they take too long. And I also think but these games here, like where you've kind of influenced your own stuff, is a fantastic addition. So like I really like that. I think you've done a great job implementing all this stuff. But yeah, the show is just too long.
Yeah.
And yeah, and before we that has to be the most important thing to address, I think, because it's all the stuff's in it is pretty good so far. Shall we dive into? You got any specific niche feedback, Greg, or should I start?
I think go for it. Go start, and I think let's not go through every single clip. Let's maybe pick out some of the highlights, some of the clips that we think that Finn should keep, and then kind of build on those.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'll tell you what, then I'll go through my hasty written notes I went through quickly. So, tell you what, Greg, can you rewind? I forget
Absolutely.
where this clip. Yeah, this is actually another issue, is because I can't find the bit I want to see again because
Yeah,
it's too
so
long.
we've got the kind of warp cannon, we've
Yeah,
got the
so
elf game,
move on to the next one.
3D game
It
kit.
might have been, yeah, played this. Yes, that bit there where they smashed the rocks.
Yeah, let me just play it here.
It's such a niche bit of feedback. Maybe go back a bit, Greg. You might have gone past it. Yes, that bit there, where there's 3 separate swipes at the 3 cubes and rocks. Oh, Helly says can't see, by the way.
I'm an idiot. Sorry. I've got the. There we go. Thanks, Helly.
Yeah, the bit where they break the 3 rocks. Minor complaint. I'd say the variation between the kind of rocks breaking isn't different enough. It kind of sounds like more or less the same sample 3 times in a row. I think you could add a lot more variance between each hit, I think, because it kind of that was the first thing that kind of like really kind of took me out of it a little bit. The machine gun effect, it's called, isn't it? And then the other thing is, again, in the kind of scene before this one, where there's like the little fish things that are running around, jumping around, I think part of that scene felt a little bit kind of like silent and a bit dead. And I think it's because the creatures you're fighting didn't really have that much in terms of kind of Foley and like sounds when they were moving around. Again, if you can rewind, Greg, you can replay that. This bit here, I think. They're like hopping in and rolling around, and they're making vocalizations, which are cool, but I think you could add a lot more kind of like squelchy bouncing, like slime scale, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and maybe
because
some
that scene
little
just
like,
felt a little silent.
you know, snaps.
Yes.
When
Yeah,
they
totally.
when they do
Absolutely
their
right.
like. Yeah, there we go. That big mouth snapping.
But yeah, like looking at this clip, there's like 4 different parts of this clip, and it's great that you implement it all yourself. But again, I just cut some of it short. So, like things like this, you can probably cut in half. But some of the sound effects in here are great.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the giant robot dude. Sounds awesome. Awesome. Tell you what, you got any notes for this clip, Greg?
I think overall, this whole section here, everything you've got in here is really, really good. I love the weight of things as well, and yeah, I think the main thing is adding more details, more variations, like you already said, Lewis. And specifically this gate for me, this is the one thing that I'm not sure about. I can hear like the low fidelity of the kind of the stones when they got pitched down, like losing their high end. So you might want to add in maybe a little bit of a high end layer. Obviously not too much detail, because you still want to kind of have it far away, and maybe even another rumble layer. Oh, Steve is in the chat. Let's go. Hey, Steve.
Yeah, I'd say it kind of that gate opening sounds a little bit like it's too far away or behind a wall or something. It doesn't really sound as crisp as it should do for this massive thing right in front of your face.
Yeah, and you've got like such good bass here. Boom, boom. And then it's kind of like here. It's a bit lacking. There's like a low rumble, but not a big bass. So yeah. I think to be honest, other than that, there's not much feedback at all.
Yeah, as a minor point, I reckon you could turn the music down a little bit. I know that's your own music you compose, which is awesome, but I think it's probably just taking up too much space when there's like big monsters going on. I think in an actual game it would be mixed a little quieter.
Yeah.
So I'd probably just turn it down by 3 to 6 decibels as a minor point.
3 to 6 decibels. You heard it here.
Yeah. That's the sweet spot. 4.5 decibels is perfect.
This sweet spot, especially when it's a logarithmic scale. Yeah. Let's see what 3 decibels. Yeah, that's that. And how about 6 decibels? Oh yeah, that is 6. I think 6 decibels is probably more like it.
Hey, you can go 9 decibels if you like.
That's
really take it to the extreme.
Whoa! Let's not get crazy here, Lewis.
Hey, can you go back to the you know, the little one of the second game that was played, the 2D,
Yeah, the elf.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Can I hear this clip again, Greg?
Yeah, for sure. This is really Pokemon-esque. The music.
Okay, cool.
I'm sorry, but I just want to play this now, to be honest. This looks sick.
It did catch me by surprise. Yeah, this is actually something I wanted to talk about. Something that very much surprised me when I first watched this is the music transition when the combat starts, just immediately cuts into heavy metal, hard rock, is entertaining, but it really did surprise me when it first happened. Like, I didn't see it coming, and I can't quite tell if I like it or not. It's kind of like humorous how
I
quickly
really
it changes.
like it. I mean, look at it. It's a little elf
think-
which you can unlock AKs and RPGs and stuff. It's bloody. I mean, I think it perfectly fits the aesthetic, personally.
I think you can make it a teensy bit. This is my opinion, subjective. I can make it a teeny bit better with music transitions by, instead of having like it just cut instantly, have like, I don't know, maybe like just like a single like snare hit, or like a single like 1 beat long drum fill, just like a do, and then it kind of goes into the music. Because like just the clean cut like straight away, for me personally, like I don't think it's quite working, even though it is hilarious, and so it kind of is a stylistic choice.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But with the actual sound effects and stuff, by the way, like, I think the fight scene sound effects is good. I wasn't too keen with the sound effect for like dashing.
Yeah,
that
same.
happens in the quiet bits. It's kind of just sounds a bit kind of muted, a bit rounded. You could probably like mix in some more kind of classic 8-bit samples into it if that's like fits with style, or just making it a little bit bolder, a little bit more expressive.
Yeah, let's listen to that for a sec. Yeah, so I feel totally the same. At the moment, it's just a and it'd be really cool to add a lot more of the kind of like art style to it. You've got the whole rainbow glittery stuff, so adding in some more sparkles and elements, and yeah, 8-bit kind of like Big Crush and all that stuff will be awesome. Yeah, sorry Lewis, I took over.
No, that's exactly what I was going to suggest. I think, yeah, you don't want to go too far with it because it's a sound that you hear all the time, obviously. But I just think the kind of, like, just a whoosh is correct, but like just adding some extra details and sprinkles to it will make it sound a little nicer, in my opinion.
Yeah, Steve, I of course, like, this is, I think I would love to hear your take on this, to be honest. Like,
Yeah,
just
cool.
hyper-realism, that'd be crazy. Shall we move on to, I would say, the last one, to be honest? This is my fave.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm a bit biased on here. I worked on something a little bit similar at one point, and I think the Foley, the ambience is beautiful. But I feel like the digging mechanic could be a lot more pronounced. In terms of like more earth, more layers, more of that stuff will be really, really nice.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think actually, as a note which kind of covers almost everything across your showreel, which is weird because it's in like 4 different clips, I think like rocks breaking you haven't quite nailed.
Yeah.
So there's rocks kind of breaking in the last clip where they mine the rocks in the trees down, which just sound a little off. There's the rock door sliding down, which doesn't quite work as well as the rest of the clip. Likewise, this clip here, the voxel one, like I think you can just have better kind of like more like cleaner, more tactile rock breaking sounds. And again, like the first one I mentioned was the rocks breaking in the other clip where it sounds too similar. that's quite like niche. That's quite specific, a specific problem to have. So I might be tempted to look into either recording some of your own rock stuff or buying some rock libraries or something. Just like finding some better rock source, because that seems to be like a potential issue you have across the show I didn't notice until now. Because if you can like get all those areas kind of like souped up with like some clean, but like varied, sexy rock hits, like that's going to elevate it a lot, in my opinion, in lots of ways. What do you think, Greg?
I 100% agree. I mean, like, I think sexy rock hits encompasses it. Rock hits are one of my favorite things, like, ever, like, sounds-wise. Rocks, like, falling off of stuff, and yeah, Helly. It's the budgies.
I've got budgies in my room next door. Yeah.
It's the budgies.
So when you started talking about like ambience, I was like, oh, I can hear bird song. Wait, no.
Bird screams. Yeah, I think it's always useful to have niche problems as well, because they're pretty easy to fix. Usually, it's something that you can really focus on, and it'll like help you in other aspects and areas as well. But let's move to the last one, because we're spending quite a long time on this one. So. The fire sound is 10 out of 10. Yeah, I'll just go for this one. I'll start with this one. So for me, Foley, wonderful. Here with the hacking sound, I think it'd be really cool. You could totally add some more details, like a little bit of the movement of like leaves and stuff. Kind of, again, I think it's nice for this to stay a little bit more minimal, but adding some layers of like some shaking stuff would be really, really good. Oh yeah, Mark, for sure, Studio Ghibli vibes. Also, what's it called? Breath of the Wild, like the and then the space and like the reverb and stuff. Steve says Lewis has constant forest ambience following him around. Well,
it haunts me.
Forest.
Very specific Australian forest.
Yeah. And then with the collecting, I like that as well, but I think it would be great to have a teeny bit less like low mid rumble in there, and a little bit more of like, again, kind of logs bumping against each other, because it's another really, really nice sound. Add a little bit more texture, I think, in general. Same with the rocks here. We've got problem numero whatever, the last one. The niche problem of the rocks here. It will be really cool to hear a little bit of like crumbling as it gets hit, and then again when you collect them, have like more rubbing together stuff like that, rather than just boom 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 kind of low mid rumble.
Yeah, it would be an awesome idea to have each hit on the trees and the rocks to kind of sound different, as if like they're doing more damage to it.
Yeah, because
there's no like health bar of them, there's no progress bar, but it'll be a nice audio indicator being like, oh, I'm nearly ready. If a rock's come on, like ding ding bang 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 bang,
yeah,
and it starts breaking up more.
Totally agree on that. This fire though, this fire is okay. So I think honestly how I would describe it is everything in the whole reel should sound like this fire, in terms of kind of like the detail and texture from like adding stuff. So it's got such depth, and then here like, does that make sense? I would love to just hear a little bit more depth and texture.
Exactly. Yeah, I think with this one, my biggest issue with it is mainly the rocks and trees breaking and being picked up. I think they could just, don't make it too much like this, but something I find really interesting in sound design is, this is a weird example because I don't think Minecraft has the best sound design, like the classic Minecraft, but I do think that the rocks and trees breaking in Minecraft, they don't sound like rocks and trees breaking, but they also sound very not annoying considering you hear them like literally all the time. And so it might be worth kind of like completely revisiting the kind of sounds you've got and having kind of more muted, almost more arcadey, like rock and tree breaking type sounds, like kind of more filtered, more like synthetic. But play around a bit and see. But either way, I think the rocks at the moment, they don't like sound. It doesn't sound like the right size, and when it crumbles, it doesn't sound like the right like amount of crumbling, if that makes sense. So I just say, yeah, definitely look into kind of like either some libraries or doing some of your own recordings of kind of like rocks and trees and wood and nature kind of breaking, rumbling, all that kind of stuff. And I think you can revisit these sections here and make them sound a lot better. But again, I think very picky. It sounds great, and the fire
overall,
and the ambience and the music is lovely.
Excellent work, and yeah, main notes is kind of figure out who it's for, and then cater it to that, make it shorter, and yeah, get on those rock rock impact. Anyway, let's move on to Marina Cruanes. I'm probably butchering the name, so apologies.
Oh no!
Scary! Be gone, you monster!
Are you okay?
I'll be okay.
Let's hurry.
All right, good work. Very nice,
Cool.
Marina. First impressions, I think it's similar to the first one, kind of not very cohesive, so there's a lot of different things going on. And I think kind of, if I see correctly, game audio sound designer, so you're probably gunning for a position in terms of like implementation and also just sound design. And so I would say try and focus on just having sound design in there, and then yeah, like basically sorry, I'm getting lost here in my own thoughts. So essentially more of this, less of, I guess, like for example things like the Minecraft stuff, because I'm not exactly sure, it's unclear what you did here, and yeah, and then this at the end, for example, it's like, that's cool, but there's nothing really game related. So yeah, I would just say kind of like stick to redesigns, and maybe a little bit of this type of implementation and sound design hybrid. And yeah, it would be really, really good to know what you did on these exactly. So here it's a Sarah gameplay, but I'm not sure, like, you know, is this a game you've worked on? Is this like a, yeah, what did you do exactly? I'm assuming Reaper, Fmod, Unity, you did implementation and all of that, but as you can see, for example, here it says sound design, music, audio implementation, so, and what it is. So it will be great to have those tags at the start so that we know what exactly. Here, okay, it takes 2 redesign, so that's good. But yeah, like, yeah, basically bring that over to the other, because glass staircase, like, yeah, this is clearly Minecraft, right? And yeah, it doesn't really say what's going on here. So
yeah, some of the comments says just to make the titles bigger, and I do agree with that, because it's very hard to read.
Yeah.
What's the software in the bottom left corner for It Takes Two? What's for V? Reaper and what's that?
Vital, which is a synth.
Oh,
actually.
Okay. Yes. Okay, I get you. That must be what the V's are made out of.
Yeah. I need
Okay, cool.
to... yeah, I think in general, so focus really on select some clips that you like from games, like It Takes Two, do full redesign on them, and kind of like scrap the rest. I would just focus on having the redesigns in here, no implementation actually, come to think of it, and then on your website you can have like implementation clips, and yeah, that as a separate reel. So yeah, I think that will be the main thing. Yeah, you've got some cool stuff in here as well. I think in terms of kind of, yeah, sorry, Lewis, I'll let you do the general impressions first, and then we can dive in.
Cool. Yeah, no, I liked it. I think I agree with what Greg's saying. I think it's very eclectic as a showreel. I think you can probably definitely reorder some of the stuff you've got in there, and also probably take some stuff out. But overall, I think it's great. And I want to say, actually, I really liked the intro, the little cross-on light buzzing thing. I thought it sounded really cool. I did think. I thought the very first sound.
Sorry. I'm gonna jump in here. Absolute.
Yeah, the silence. Yeah.
Absolute huge sin here. There is, I don't know how many seconds of silence, but
they kept it short, to be fair.
I mean, though that's like 4 seconds or something of silence. That is really, really long. When you think of it, 60 seconds ish showreel, 60 to 100 seconds. That's a big chunk.
They're just showing off her dynamic range, Greg. No, I do agree. I think you should try to avoid silence, especially at the start.
Yeah, you can literally just do this instead. Just cut it.
Yeah, that is better. So as I was saying, with the intro, I really like the little animation. I love it. I like the logo. I like the sound of it as well. But I would say the very, very first sound of like the buzzing electric thing. So just this bit until the cross-on fills in. I think it just sounded a bit harsh, and
yeah.
I wouldn't point it out unless it wasn't the very first thing you hear. Can you play it again, Greg? The intro. Yeah, I think you can come up with a more rounded sound. Those wasps are loud in my ears.
Yeah. I think honestly, choose a different clip, because if I'm gonna be honest, it's just not nice to listen to, and not in terms of like you did a bad job, but like in terms of the sounds of insects in my ears are just not it, you know, like out of all the things I could listen to, having insects close to my ears is just not something that I would be like, this is awesome. So I personally would just say choose a different clip from this, even though there are some cool elements in there. And like, I think you have a really cool sound for like the glue gun. I would bring the explosions back a bit. I can hear them like distorting and redlining.
Yeah, moving on to this clip actually from the intro. I think the insects, like, it's cool that you decided to make them a vital, and it's like, considering you made them with, I'm assuming that's what happened, by the way. I'm assuming, since this is vital in the corner, that wasp and bees are made for vital. So it's cool that you could do that, but like, I think you kind of, I think it would sound better if you just grabbed some like samples and designed it like the non-synthesized way, which unfortunately kind of defeats the point of having it in your showreel. Like, you have to think, if you want to make something with just synthesis, it kind of has to make sense from a storytelling perspective. Like, synthesis is kind of very futuristic and very, futuristic spaceship buzzing things. And as far as I'm aware, and It Takes Two, it isn't like that. I think that actual bees kind of like magically like anthropomorphized and come to life. And so I think using synthesis for them is kind of a wrong approach. And to be honest, like, you can probably get away with it, but like I say, the synth just sounds very electric, digital, robotic, and it sounds very, very loud, especially when there's swarms of them. So I think you'd have better luck making different source material from like actual raw recordings rather than synthesized stuff. But as Greg said, it might be worth just doing a different clip and picking something a little bit easier and more just kind of like just nice to listen to. And if you don't do that, I probably recommend pushing this one further back in the clip, because I think some of the later clips you've got sound better than this one, personally. But again, I'm being really. I forgot to kind of give a disclaimer at the start of this video that I'm being very, very picky. I think this is overall a pretty good show with lots of cool stuff in it. I'm just picking out the bits I don't like as much, so I'm really sorry if I sound really harsh.
The other thing is, if you just look at the waveform, as Lewis said earlier, dynamics, you've got quite, again, like it's very, very loud in the beginning and then it trails off towards the end, and I think like probably...
Gone, you monster!
Are you okay?
Gone, you monster!
Are you okay?
This is a pretty good kind of dynamic range, but then here it gets super, super quiet. There's like not much going on. And then it goes back to having stuff. But it's almost, I would say, like, so either kind of like fill this out some more. I know it's like implemented, but if you revisit it again, add some more Foley, add some more ambiences, and kind of like fill this out a little bit. Or just cut this and say, okay, well, we're gonna just go to the highlights and have these here.
That's a cool sound, by the way.
It is, yeah.
That's the best bit of a show reel, so you should start with that.
Yeah.
That's a really cool bit.
Yeah.
Right, sorry, pause it for a second, Greg. Right.
Absolutely.
So, sorry, I just got distracted watching it again. We ended up skipping over the. Okay, so with this Minecraft clip in the middle, I don't know for sure what's happened. So again, we should probably describe what's going on. I'm assuming what it is it's some kind of like animated YouTube series or something done within Minecraft, like we did with like Red vs Blue with Halo. Like I'm assuming it's kind of like a production where people are making like TV or film or whatever using Minecraft as an animation tool, which is what that's purely guessing, and I'm assuming that because you were doing the sound for this, that's why it doesn't say redesign, it doesn't say Minecraft, it just says Glass Staircase. I'm assuming that's what it is. If it's not that, then I think it needs to be more clearly communicated. It should probably be more clearly communicated anyway.
I was gonna say, if it's not that, it should be what?
But that aside, so I'm assuming that's what's happened, and I'm assuming that means you put it in because it's kind of like actual sound work. Maybe it was like maybe it was you were hired to do it, maybe it's something you worked on yourself. I'm not sure. But I'm assuming because the rest are kind of redesigns and kind of like recreated, re-implemented stuff, which of projects you've not worked on, you've put this in one quite early because this project you've actually worked on. But to be honest, I find it a little bit confusing. I don't think it sounds as good as the other clips anyway. I'd probably just get rid of it because it's confusing. I think I don't really know what I'm looking at. It's like in Minecraft, it's like a animation. And then it's hard to tell really what to make of it. Don't get me wrong, there's some cool stuff in there. Like some of the monster sound effects sounds pretty good. I say the voice acting probably leaves a little bit to be desired. Again, I'm risking sounding harsh. But I'd say just overall, like, and again, looking at the waveform, it's so much louder than everything else as well. So I reckon your best bet's probably either moving it to the very end or probably just removing it from the show reel. Because the other stuff you've got is, in my opinion, a lot better. What do you think, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, I've already said I would just delete the Minecraft thing personally. And I think that, yeah, I would just, for the whole reel, I would kind of like base it around getting this in first and then selecting some different clips and doing some more redesigns and adding to it kind of like with the lessons that you learned. Sounds super harsh, I think, but at the same time, like, if I'm gonna be honest, if I were to look at this as like for hiring someone, then it's just not quite clear what exactly the skill set is. So I would focus more on the sound design side and just choose some new clips, kind of like the It Takes Two one. But again, something that's maybe not got insects right in your EOS, and then kind of focus on doing that a bit more, because for example, like this is cool at the end, but it's just nothing game related. So yeah, just
I'd
kind
also... Sorry, Greg, you carry on.
Yeah. Just also, we've got a so Joachim, hey guys, am I on time to send in my reel? Unfortunately not. So at the moment we've got a full list already, so yeah, sorry, Joachim.
Do you want to drop a link, Greg, to
Yeah,
submit the reel.
absolutely. I will do that. You can continue.
Whilst you do that,
and then let's
I'll
go to
chat
the
a bit.
next one afterwards.
Yeah.
Just to.
Cool. So just briefly then, whilst you're getting the link, with the rest of the show reel, a few small notes for you. So the first one is when it comes to like doing It Takes Two, I love that game. It's an amazing game actually. It's incredible. But I'm not so sure about like choosing a split screen video to redesign, because it makes it a bit harder to see what's going on. And like if you're adding sounds to picture to sync up, etc., like it's just harder for a listener to kind of immediately see what's happening because there's two identical screens to look at. I know It Takes Two has some bits where it is just one connected screen, but if you're going to pick another clip to redesign, I'd recommend not doing a split screen one.
That's a good
moving
point,
on from
actually.
that. Yeah, just really sorry, Greg, really quickly if that's okay. In the penultimate clip, which is the kind of 2D one where they're walking along and then there's that big cool explosion at the end. That explosion thing at the end sounds incredible. It sounds so good. And so I definitely kind of like shorten the start of that clip and bring it to the front so you can hear that as soon as possible because it sounds amazing. The only other note I have with that one is probably to turn up some of the ambience, especially for footsteps and Foley, because likewise, but it just sounds too quiet at the start. And then the very final note is for the very end clip, which is the Rube Goldberg machine. I think just some of the stuff is a bit out of sync, so I'd make sure to zoom super far in and set your grid to frames and just check every single impact, every single movement starts and stops in the exactly correct frame that it should do. Because I think some of the things like the sound of a ball rolling stops a few frames early, the sound of like the conveyor belt spinning lasted too many frames, etc. So it's very, very specific, but I know that, well, at our company especially, like our boss is really, really big on sync. And so it's a thing that a lot of employees account for, I believe.
This is
but that
true.
is all my notes. Yeah.
This is true. Yeah, I think actually good point on the split screen. Yeah, you're just making it really hard for yourself. Split screen is an absolute nightmare to work with as an audio person. Even more, well, I don't know if even more, but equally so in redesigns or in engine, it's just all a nightmare because you've got lots of things. So yeah, choose a clip actually that isn't split screen, I think is a really, really good idea. Cool. Anyway, sorry, I am moving us along just because I'm aware of the time and I want to like spend good amounts on everyone. So yeah, John, let's go. And I should turn up the sound. Nice. Well done. Original, okay, all real audio from original source synthesis and Foley. Cool. So just quickly to jump into that can of worms. Really, really awesome job for creating it all yourself. That's super admirable and an incredibly good practice for sure. But I would say when it comes to reels, the thing is that at the end of the day, like, we'll all be using sound libraries in our jobs, and we try to use as much as original source and synth stuff that we make from ourselves as possible. But I would say it kind of hinders you to get it like just up to that really, really high standard, just because some of the things are really hard to make yourself. And so I would say, like, don't shy away from using library content if it's something that like adds to the sound. You know, even better if it's sound you made yourself. But at the same time, I think, yeah, in this day and age at the moment, companies won't necessarily look at it and say, okay, well, it's a lot better because you made all the source yourself. They're just looking for someone who can kind of put together something really, really awesome. It doesn't really matter too much where it comes from. And so I would say go for it and use sound libraries as well. But yeah, I think the choice of clips is really, really good in this one. Your little intro logo is cool, and you kind of get into the action pretty much right away, except for this short disclaimer, which again, silence pretty much, I think, or not quite.
Yeah.
Oh, no, never mind. I will retract my statement. My bad. You got it very nicely there, leading it in. So good stuff. Sorry, my bad. I take it back. Yeah, then we've got some beautiful transitions as well. I just think it's quite funny how everyone is like, I think I've seen this Lords of Fallen clip, I don't know, like 100 times now.
Yeah, I think it was from a contest, right? Was it a Blip Sounds contest or something? And so I feel like I'm the same. I've seen it at least 100 times.
People have done it. And now my webcam is moving again. I need to... There we go. Yeah. But yeah, the transition here, for example, beautiful, very, very nice. So yeah, big up on that stuff. The selection, the overall like putting together of all the stuff is super good. So yeah, I think overall my main criticism here is to, funnily, counterintuitively enough, is to use some library sounds to just bring it up to the next thing. The other thing that I noticed in terms of general stuff is sometimes there's some things that are hard panned, less in the overall clip, but especially in the Lords of the Fallen one. It's like a lot of it is leaning towards my left ear, I find, and so you just want to be a little bit careful when it comes to hard panning stuff, or not hard, but like to panning stuff really, really into one or the other direction, especially if it's kind of like, as long as it's relatively in the center of the screen, just because especially on headphones it becomes super noticeable and kind of like breaks the immersion a little bit. Yeah, what are your overall thoughts, Lewis?
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic. Great work, some good points Greg's made as well. Got a few notes for you, because it'd be a rubbish stream if I didn't. That last point Greg said about the panning direction. So probably my biggest issue with this reel is towards the end, the stray clip. Can you play it for me, Greg?
Sure.
The cat running.
Oh, we've got, so Mark says, nice work. The quality of the video clips could be improved. Maybe it's a minor thing, but it was distracting. Actually, I agree with that. It might have been something during upload. I think some of the clips are better than others, but yeah, there's definitely some quality things. Anyway, sorry, Lois. We're starting here.
Yeah. Cool. So in that stray clip, can everyone see the clips, by the way?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have this great setup now where I can switch to talking heads, and it's so cool, and then I forget to switch back, and then it like just terrible. So yeah. You'll get it
eventually.
Sorry.
Yeah. So that like. So there's like a synthesized kind of sound that plays all throughout this clip. And when I first heard it, I've never played Stray. I know, shame. But when I first heard this reason, I was like, what is that? Is that music? Is it like something in the background? Is there like, you're being chased by a space helicopter? And then towards the end, I was like, oh, hang on. Is that supposed to be the little tiny like alien things running around swarming, trying to get you? I'm pretty sure that is what it's supposed to be. If I'm wrong, then ignore this. But like I'd say with the kind of panning and stuff, it sounds like it's really stereo. It sounds like they're behind me or like right on top of the camera at all times. If there's like a group of like things in the distance, it should be panned like way more narrow, almost like mono sources. It probably should be mono sources and kind of placed in the world, because at the moment it doesn't sound like they're positioned in the correct places, which made me actually kind of not know what it was. Whereas even if it was the exact same sound, just positioned in the right spot, and maybe with some like higher volume attenuation, so the further away they are, the quieter they are, the closer they are, the louder, etc., I'd probably have clocked it a bit quicker. So that's personally my biggest gripe of this clip and the showreel, is because I just didn't know what it was until like the very end of this clip. And I have another note for you, which is to do with kind of showreel length. I think it's a good length of a showreel. I think like things flow quite well, except the very first clip in the Black Mesa clip. I think like you're just kind of hanging on the kind of thing spinning on the ceiling, like this scene, just hanging a bit too long without anything happening. I feel like you could cut like probably the first 5, maybe even 10 seconds of this, because you're kind of walking back and forth and nothing's actually changing until this bit where it explodes, which is cool. For the first clip of a showreel, like you don't want to be keeping people waiting, making them skip ahead. So I just like trim it, like trim the fat. It sounds good. I wouldn't actually change much about it at all, but just make it a bit shorter because it's the same thing for about a 5-10 second period. And my last note I had for you, which is actually about everything, is I feel like almost all of it feels like it's lacking high frequency content. Whether that's just like a mixing style, or maybe it's like your headphones or speaker setup isn't ideal. But throughout the whole thing, I kept thinking, oh, I wish I had like a little bit more kind of like fizzle or sizzle, or just like something high frequency to make things that are close to you more detailed, make things mechanical sound more like dangerous and clunky. Yeah, let's have a listen.
In fact, you know what we can do? We can grab a EQ and
just to prove me wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Look at this high. I mean, to be fair, this is the intro, but yeah.
No, I can't see that, Greg. I think it might be a pop-up.
Oh yeah, it's a pop-up. But yeah. Yeah, so I definitely agree. This is electricity. I would like really expect to hear like all kinds of harsh like stuff. It's also, again, panning. We're looking at a center big thing happening, and then I can hear lots of stuff in the left, lots of stuff kind of like around me. And some of it is good, but I really would like to hear a lot more front and center, and then have it kind of focused on the front, and then some of the high stuff pan out. I mean, we're just looking at a lot of the high stuff, but if we look at the low stuff again, also super panned. It's going all around us.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you bring the if you make a lot of those sources mono, and then kind of just have some of the other stuff in stereo, I think that would really, really benefit you. I think this goes for most of the clips.
Yeah, you might find the kind of lack of high frequency as well is coming from your own recordings. Maybe if you start mixing in more like, you know, Soundly or Sound Effects Swap or Bloom Library stuff, for instance, that's going to have high frequency content, which will help things shine and fizz a little bit more. If you don't know about this, I've mentioned it so many times already, there's a great free plugin by Slate Digital called Fresh Air. Honestly, like, I'd be tempted to just put it on the entire showreel and then you can kind of see what I mean, because I think that will give it what it's lacking. It just feels like it's got like a high roll-up type deal.
Yeah.
And so I recommend getting Fresh Air and using it in your arsenal as well. Like putting it on things that should be detailed and up close and tactile, or dangerous, or, you know, electric, or that kind of thing. And just giving it that kind of like just extra bit of sweetness that it needs, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure, agree. I'm sorry if you can hear a plane in the background. I'm not sure how I've switched mics, and now it's picking up a lot more than it did before. But yeah, I think just to end it for me on this specific feedback is just to go back to what Lewis said here. Oops, we've got only the high stuff here. See, actually, I think if you just... I'm not a fan of that sound, personally. Just because I can't tell what it is. It doesn't really sound like animals, or it's just not clear. But I think if you actually, again, cut all the low end out of it, and maybe like add some little squeals, this sounds a lot more believable to me. But having so much low end, they're like tiny creatures. So yeah, I think if you actually just totally high pass it, and then add some additional like little screeches and screams, that might really do the job.
Yeah, I think you should. But they kind of sound like. Okay, I'm going to do a terrible impression. They kind of sound like. It sounds quite rhythmic, but like too slow. If you like just like take the kind of source material you're generating and speed it up by like 2-3 times, and it kind of makes that kind of warbly kind of like type sound.
There we go.
You got to make it sound a lot more. Yeah, well, that's actually can't believe that advice worked. But
Yeah,
in my
look,
opinion, I think that
so
sounds way
you
better.
speed it up,
Yeah.
you add a high pass, and voila. And then do a little bit more what Lewis said with the panning in the beginning. That's cool.
Live sound design, Lewis and Greg.
How about the up?
Yeah, I look at doing that.
Anyway, sorry, I'm getting carried away. Sweet.
But yes, that's me.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, really, really, really solid reel. Great stuff. To sum up all of it, I would say, like Lewis said, cut the black Mesa clip shorter. Do some different stuff with these creatures. More high end across the whole thing. Don't be afraid to use your own, use libraries. And the thing also with like using library sounds is that we can really learn from them. Whenever I buy a new library, I listen to the whole thing and kind of just look at the file names. How are they made? What stuff have they got? How are they using any interesting recording techniques, stuff like that? You can learn a lot from that, so it's definitely a good way to learn as well. And yeah, I just want to say as well though, props for basically, you know, like just using your own sounds. That's pretty cool. You did a really good job making everything from scratch. It's super impressive, I think. So yeah, but don't limit yourself. Basically, don't limit yourself. Because unfortunately the companies won't really care that much if it kind of like it's quality over, you know, the certain limitations and whatnot. But you've got a really, really high quality, so I do think that, you know, you can just push it a teeny bit further by using some library sounds. And yeah, I think other than that, it's a really, really solid reel. So yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. Great work.
Good stuff.
And great work for everyone for submitting their reels. Hopefully it was a useful stream.
We've got you can't hear it, Lewis. But
I can't.
We've got a little clap sound effect. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Yeah, Mark says, Craig, I'm worried we won't have enough time. Craig also starts playing with FitGQ. Yeah, it's, you know, I get carried away, but we're at 29, so we're literally, we've got 1 minute left to where
That's the
we're
first
supposed
ever
to end it.
re-reviews. We've done it in time.
I know, it's quite the accomplishment. But yeah, as always, thank you everyone for joining. It's really, really great to have you in the chat, and hopefully this was useful. You learned something from it, and thank you so much for submitting your reels as well. At the moment, I've got a long list that I have to get through, but that should hopefully, now that Reel Reviews is back again at a regular, probably monthly or maybe even bi-monthly interval, we will get through that, and then we'll open it again for new submissions. So yeah, thank you everyone, and thank you Lewis as well for joining. It was an absolute pleasure, and see
Good
you
fun as always.
in the next episode. Same time, same
Yeah.
place. Maybe not same time, but definitely same place. Bye everyone, take care.
Cool. Bye.